Another day in the office when it comes to Red Bull and their race pace, especially seen by Max's flying rocket. In Hungary, the Dutchman had a battery issue during qualifying and had to satisfy with P10 in qualifications, but yet went on to win the race. In Spa, Verstappen took a penalty-applying engine which saw him drop on the grid and start the race P14 along with his main nemesis for the title, Leclerc, being P15 due to the same reason. Yet he managed to win the race without any significant problems, as Red Bull was literally 20 to 30 km an hour faster on the Kemmel straight. Although Verstappen is generational talent, the engineering around the car is truly mind-boggling. So if you want to find out about how Red Bull provided Max with such a beast, especially in the last two races, stick around with us. Max Verstappen is currently 93 points ahead of his teammate Perez, who sits at P2 and 98 points ahead of Leclerc in P3. The championship, as we speak, is far away from over with 8 races remaining, but it seems like Red Bull has not just gained momentum on their side, but literally took things into their own hands and decided to end things as soon as in Suzuka. Ferrari has suffered with bad luck, but also with terrible decisions. One of them happening yesterday and seeing Leclerc drop from P5 to P6 due to the speeding in the pit lane, as he rushed to get out and not just secure the fastest lap, but also not get passed by Alonso. Spa was the race where we were supposed to see a massive drop in performance of Red Bull and Ferrari. According to Mercedes, the team that is preying for Ferrari's mistakes in order to climb to P2, both of their fiercest rivals have found a way to circumvent the rules and make their flaws more flexible than allowed. They went to the extent of George Russell saying that the new technical directive will make Ferrari and Red Bull significantly slower, and their car won't be affected since they respected every aspect of this TD. Nevertheless, Hamilton was 1.8 seconds off Verstappen's pole-earning lap, and all over the free practices we've seen that Mercedes are now even slower than the previous races. However, it seems like they aren't as slow, as the Red Bull is kind of a rocket machine as we speak. So what is it in the Austrian team that makes them just demolish their competition in the second half of the season? During free practice sessions, it became clear that Red Bull has a huge edge over Ferrari. And that hasn't been the case in the previous races, at least not in free practice and qualifying sessions. Ferrari has been able to grab 8 pole positions so far, with 7 of them going to Leclerc and 1 to Sainz. However, Verstappen has dominated the Belgian Grand Prix weekend from start to finish. And one couldn't help but wonder, what has changed in the car? It's been known that Adrian Newey, the chief engineer in Red Bull, wanted to adjust the weight of Red Bull's car, which is around 8 kilos more than the minimum weight allowed. However, during the measurements made in Belgium, Red Bull's car has lost 4 kilograms of weight and is now 802 kilos, very close to Ferrari. There is one thing that's likely been applied to the car, something that wasn't set to be done in Belgium but rather in Singapore according to the initial Red Bull reports, and that is the new chassis of their car. Reports say that the new chassis has been implemented through FP1 and FP2, thus the huge difference compared to Ferrari and Mercedes. But what is so special in this chassis, and is it something that has dealt the last blow to Ferrari in their championship aspirations? The new chassis is stiffer and lighter than its predecessor, according to Paolo Filicetti, who is a technical analyst. But the special feature of this chassis is that it's much lighter compared to the previous one, about 5 kilograms less. In practice, Verstappen and Perez's cars will have a performance advantage of just under 0.2 per lap over the previous chassis, something that the Dutchman has been able to absolutely maximize over the course of the weekend. How did the genius mind of Newey manage to do a miracle once again? Remember that Red Bull is the only team that hasn't struggled with a porpoising phenomenon, and that it's mostly due to the fact that Newey's floor design is something marvelous, out of this planet engineering. The result of the lighter monocoque was achieved by applying a different construction to the chassis. However, this hasn't been done when it comes to the design, but by carefully studying the cross-ply of the different layers of carbon fiber. By placing the fibers in a different orientation, the same stiffness and strength values as the previous version could be obtained, but that would result in reduced thickness in many places of the chassis. Due to the latter being achieved, the new chassis is significantly lighter, which allows the RB18 to optimize its speed even further. At the core of the chassis, Red Bull has used finite element tools, with software that virtually evaluates the stresses by dividing the body into several sections. When this is done, the resistance of the structure and its stiffness could be simulated as the structure varies. The main focus here is on the orientation of the fibers of the different carbon layers. But how did Red Bull do this so far in the season? They're the team that brought upgrades to almost any race so far, and they've been one of the most vocal teams in the paddock when it comes to the budget cap. Remember earlier this year, when the inflation went well over 3%, that the FIA will hand €4 million to every team on the paddock? Well, sources report that around half of this bonus was used for the development and manufacture of the new chassis, making the RB18 truly a masterpiece on the grid. What's even more interesting is that Red Bull is adamant when it comes to the release of the chassis, saying that they wouldn't implement it in Singapore. However, Ferrari and Mercedes, along with other sources on the grid, said that they fear about this miracle weapon being released at the Belgian Grand Prix. When you compare the pace of every single driver with Verstappen, you can see that their fears are really justified. Not just that, Verstappen has been equipped with a brand new engine, making him even faster than we're used to seeing. And furthermore, what's even scarier for Mercedes and Ferrari is that the new technical directive hasn't slowed down Red Bull. In fact, it made them much faster. And this has been expressed in a statement by Toto Wolff, who spoke about Verstappen's pace and about Mercedes' weekend in Spa, which ended miserably bad for Hamilton after the 7-time world champion admitted to a mistake in the collision with Alonso. It is for me the worst qualifying session I had in 10 years, irrespective of what positions we're going to start after the grid penalties. Even being pole the previous weekend and 3 weeks later being nowhere is just not acceptable for ourselves. There's something which we totally don't understand. Clearly Red Bull is here in a league of their own. What is the next Ferrari? 8/10ths off? 9/10ths off? But that is no consolation. The main problem that Mercedes experienced is the drag on the main straights, which could have appeared if Mercedes decided to raise the ride height a little bit in order to not bounce as much, since the new TD also measures the vertical oscillations from Belgium onwards and will apply massive penalties to teams failing to comply with these rules. If we could understand, we could tune it, but the car is draggy on the straights. Lewis said it's like dragging a parachute behind him. It's unstable on the rear, it understeers through turns 8 and 9, it bounces through the high-speed sections, and gives no confidence. There is not a positive that I heard about how the car performs here this weekend. I think now it's time to consolidate and decide what we need to do next. Even Sergio Perez, who now sits at P2 after jumping Leclerc in the Drivers' Championship, acknowledged that Verstappen is literally flying all over the map and said that the Dutchman is on another planet. Perez has been heavily criticised by Helmut Marko over the last few weekends, with the last jab coming towards him in Belgium, when Marko said that Perez missed out on an easy pole position on Saturday. I really hope for more. Today it was a good opportunity to win, but Max was just flying. He was on another planet and was untouchable. The first stint was quite poor in terms of degradation, but I feel it was a very strong result for the team. I think we managed to get a lot of points today, which is very important, and I'm looking forward to the next race. So, with a new technical directive not affecting Red Bull one single bit, and keeping Ferrari right where they are, is the championship already over? The points difference is huge, and it would likely take some DNFs from Verstappen over the last 8 races in order for Leclerc or Perez to cut the lead. What do you think is going to happen in the remainder of the season? Let us know in the comments below.